Hi, Zach. How are you today?
I'm wonderful. How you doing?
I'm doing good. I mean, I've been saying throughout all these conversations, I can't complain coming from Canada to now San Francisco. It's sunny. It's great outside.
Yeah, it's great. No, I came from Atlanta too, so a little bit less hot, a little bit more air. It's kind of nice, but it's an adventure.
It is, definitely. Well, thank you for sitting down with me to chat everything composable. But before we really dive into that, I would love to hear more about yourself and what you're up to.
Okay. So like you mentioned, my name's Zach. I'm actually the CEO of a new company called Zephyr Cloud. Previously, I was actually the chief revenue officer for an IT company and consulting company called Valor Software. So I went from both the system integrator side to now we're actually a SaaS platform that integrates with Netlify. So I've actually seen kind of both parts of the picture here.
That's really great. I love that you were able to really get a full picture, like both sides of the platform.
Yeah, and I started off my career as a developer too. So
no way.
Developer, architecture, mergers and acquisitions, and sales. So like I've seen the whole thing. So like when I think about what you guys are doing, there's a lot of fun stuff that I've seen throughout my career that you guys are helping solve. That's
really great to hear. Well, kind of on that note, do you remember or can you recall when you first heard about Composable or have a story around that?
So part of it goes back to like a long time ago when I was doing Groovy development, which is like a really old thing.
Groovy development.
I mean, people still do Groovy, but I was building component libraries for Groovy, and think of it like Lego bricks for the web, right? So it was composable, but on like the component level, but not like the overall architecture level. So that was kind of the first foray into it. And then I ended up being an architect at Ultimate Software. I actually heard about Mount Alliance.
Okay.
So that's why I started to really dig into Composable a little bit more. Then when I moved to Valor, that's when we really started getting into like module federation and stuff like that, and really digging deep on Composable because a lot of the enterprises we were working with were trying to modernize and getting stuck and going on 10-year journeys that are trying to modernize, and Composable is kind of how we got them out of that.
That is really great. Going back to when you were an architect at Ultimate, was at the time, were people calling it composable, or was it more just modular?
It was modular or distributed or federated. Like that's what most of the words that we used it in. I think Mach Alliance, maybe they were the ones who started to make it more popular than composable, but we were calling it mostly like federated architecture, federated systems.
That's really great to hear. But I'm sure throughout your time there now in your journey with Composable, have you noticed that it's really, especially with enterprise customers or clients, have you noticed that the urgency to either migrate to a composable platform, or what are your thoughts around that? You're laughing.
I'm giggling because the developers want to most times, right? But then like products like, well, no, we need to get these features out the door. So you kind of have this push and pull from organizations.
Yeah.
Sometimes they want to move for the business need, right? They have to get things out the door faster. And sometimes it's driven from a developer side, and there's resistance on the product side, right? So it really depends on the organization. We've seen it completely different sides.
Yeah. This is off script from the questions I was sharing with you, but how do you get both sides to buy in then?
So before I got into IT, I used to sell life insurance.
Okay.
And I had an 85% close rate if I got in your house. So
that's amazing.
A really good close rate. And part of what that taught me is understanding what people's underlying objections were, right? A lot of times in business and in tech, the way I got things done was by figuring out my boss or his boss's needs. And I would say, okay, here's this tech that I want to address, or here's this technology I want to adopt. And then how does it solve their needs? So when trying to bring things like Composable or Module Federation or even Zephyr, we talk about this with our investors, is how we share about it to the different personas is dramatically different. Developers care about different things than product owners, and CFOs care about different things than product owners, and being able to translate your message to them is very important.
That is. And do you find, I know each enterprise or each company is a bit different because there's different personas, even in those roles that work there, but do you find overall there's one or two key factors for, the developers versus product side versus, CFO side that you can really lean into, that they have that aha moment?
No.
I appreciate you're on it. No, I do.
So the cultures in organizations are very different, right? Some cultures like Ultimate was extremely people first.
Yes.
So if you talk about things from a people first aspect, it's a North Star that everyone can align around.
Yeah.
Someone like ADP is not necessarily focused on that, right? Companies like Career Builder, especially before they got acquired by Apollo, were not, focused on that. So it just depends on the core values of the business and the core values of the individuals you're working on, and then being able to tailor your message to that.
I guess secretly I was hoping that there would be this magical unicorn answer, because I haven't discovered it. So I was like, maybe Zach knows, but you're right. It really depends.
It comes down to, I call it code switching.
Yeah.
So what that means, so I'm a polyglot, so I speak lots of different languages. And sometimes when I'm speaking to someone who's from somewhere else, I will change how I speak even in English. And which is really interesting, because our Uber driver noticed the other day, because I started speaking English like I was a Spanish speaker because he was Spanish.
Wow.
Which is really weird to a lot of people, but the same thing applies with trying to pitch composable architectures and stuff like that. If you can put yourself in their shoes and you can begin to think and talk like they do, then it helps you to be able to get them to do what you want them to do at the end of the day.
That is really great. And as a side note, I love how you're really tying different experiences and personal aspects that you have, being a polyglot, for example, how that can actually tie into really helping explain about Composable and the benefits of it. It's full circle.
Well, for our startup, we use food as an analogy. Like I'm a guy that loves food, and we break it down in pasta. So like monolith is spaghetti code, right? It's really hard to share spaghetti with other people. You end up destroying the noodles, destroying the dish at the end of the day, right? As you move to like front end and back end developer, you have lasagna, right? A little bit easier to separate, still messy when you try to do it. Then you have ravioli. Ravioli is great. That's the like microservices, micro front ends, right? But if you have kids, like I have 4 kids, if you have kids, you still have to cut it up for them and try and distribute it. Now we're in the age of risotto, right? So risotto is composable architecture. Really easy to decompose risotto, move it from one bowl to the other, but never say that analogy to an Italian. Because risotto is the hardest to make, but it's the easiest to take apart. So it's a good analogy.
That is such a good analogy. I might steal that from you, but I will always credit you.
Yeah, that's fine.
Yeah. Well, since we're here at Netlify Compose, give me an example, or can you tell me why you recommend Netlify to your customers?
That's a fun one. So we're building our startup on top of Netlify.
Wow.
If you know that. Part of why we do that and part of why we recommend it to our customers, one of the reasons is performance, right? So it's extremely performant. And a lot of the folks that we're working with are already using Jamstack, right? And so that makes it really easy because Netlify kind of invented Jamstack and popularized it. So it's a really easy leap for us to say, hey, who best to work with than people who intimately care about this and people who are fostering the ecosystem and are building a really good platform around it.
I love that. Thank you for summing that up so well.
Thank you. Thank you for having me.
Thanks, Zach. Talk to you soon.
See you.